All right, good morning. Today I'll be installing a roof rack, OEM roof rack on my 2024 Type S. This installation should be the same for the Honda Civic Type R and the standard Integra as well, since it's a shared part number. So what's in the box? When you open your box up, you will have obviously the roof racks, two crossbars right here. You'll have this black weather stripping. There'll be two of those, which is used to go into the channels when you're actually not using the roof rack. You'll have four of these rubber base plates, which are meant to go on the bottom seating mounts of the rack itself. You'll get this tool, which is a torque wrench of sorts with a hex tip. This is used to tighten the rack down onto the roof of the car. And you will get four cover plates. Okay, for today's roof rack, I have a bike carrier, single bike carrier. If you look, it's actually branded Mini, but it is a Thule Pro XT. Just rebranded. So these roof racks are channeled to be interchangeable with all the other carriers out on the market, Yakima and Thule and Fisher and all those other ones. However, that being said, you may have to do some modifications to the mounting bolts or mounting hardware if you're putting a roof rack on, or a kayak rack or a ski rack. Because what I've found out is there's been some chatter that these bars are made by Thule, but I don't believe that to be the case, just because of the size of the channel itself, which is where you mount your accessories. So if you notice on here, the channels are actually pretty narrow. And then in comparison, my Mini Cooper roof rack, which is actually made by Thule, has wide channels. So this bike mount is made, obviously, to fit a Thule rack. So what I had to do to mount this Thule rack onto the Acura rack is actually take the hardware and narrow it slightly. Simple grinder, smooth it down evenly, and then it gives it enough to clamp, but also to fit into the narrow rails of the Acura roof rack. So just be prepared for that. But again, all these accessories should fit in each other's racks with little modification, if any. So for the sake of shortening up the video a little bit, I've already pre-installed the rubber foot pads on the bottoms of the rack, with the exception of one corner. And if you'll notice, when you look at your pads, every single pad is marked with a position indicator. For example, this one is front left. The other one will have front right, right rear, right left, etc. So these pads are just held on with these two rubber nipples, right? And if you look at your rack itself, it's clearly marked. It says, if you look kind of carefully right here on the foot pad, it'll say left. And then also there's a sticker up here for orientation. Try to catch that. And this one, for example, says front left. So when you mount this, this will be on the front left of the car, obviously. And also there's a warning for this, and it's also in the manual, that if you have a Type S with 19-inch wheels, you can't mount a bike. I think this comes down from a little CYA from Honda because of increased vibrations or whatever. The standard Integra has a capacity of 132 pounds, and you're able to carry two bikes on the roof. However, for some reason, they deemed it unsafe. With 19-inch wheels, you're not allowed to carry a bike at all. So take a common sense into account. It's up to you. If you feel comfortable enough carrying a bike on the top of your car, do so. Just be aware that Acura says it's a no-no. So that being said, I'm going to continue on with this roof rack. Okay, so to put the rubber mount on the foot, as I noticed, said before, make sure you're oriented the right way. So this one is the front left, as you can see right here, clearly marked. There's a notch. That notch corresponds with the bottom of this mount here. If you look, there's a cutout. So you'll take your mount, you put them in the holes like that, and just simply press down. And then what I did is I take a pair of pliers, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this, but here's a little nipple. Just get it to pull through. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Right down here, grab the little nipple, pull it through. There's a ball here, you're done, and you're all set. So after that, your feet are installed. Again, left side corresponds to the left pad, right side, etc. So now that you've got the roof rack ready for installation, how do you know where it goes in the car? When you open up your doors, you're going to look on the door jamb, and you're going to see little divots marked in the sheet metal. Right here for the front door, there's a divot. Okay, there'll be one on the driver's side as well. And then when you open the passenger side, same thing. There's a divot right here on the roof line of the car here. So what you're going to do is you're going to line up the center of the mount, the rubber pad, with that divot, and that'll give you alignment for the roof rack bars across the roof. So let's go ahead and put those roof bars on. All right, now that we got the rack all set up, we're going to go ahead and install it. So what I like to do is take these clamps and run the bolts all the way out and give you room for your clamp there. So after you've decided which side the orientation goes on, front left, go ahead and gently, very carefully lay it across the roof. And the same thing on this side. And what you're going to do is just kind of eyeball it, center it up here, and just slip the clamp in real carefully. Now, go over to the other side. And we're going to do the same thing. So if you notice this clamp already slipped down, I just want to make sure that it's centered. We're going to put it like that. And then we're going to verify that the indentation on the rubber pad is up against the roof line of the car, which is made to locate the rack on the car itself. And then we'll repeat the same for the rear. Go ahead and gently put it across. Find your dot and kind of center it up, just eyeball it there real quick. There we go, just like that. Now your roof rack is on the car, loosely. And then you'll take your supplied tool, which if you look, there is actually a torque rating on it of 3 Newton meters. Without Googling, I'm not really sure what 3 Newton meters is. But what will happen is when you tighten these bolts down, they'll click. So initially, I'm not going to crank down on them. I'm just going to snug them up all the way around. All right, now that we have the roof installed, the roof rack installed, you look, if you notice here, the rubber foot pads have indentations that match the roof line of the car. All 4 of those should be flush against the car. And then the last thing you want to do is, as you tighten them up, you'll notice that this has that 3 Newton meters on the back of it. This is the torque wrench. So you basically hit that tightening point, it'll stop, click. So now you know that your roof rack is correctly fastened. It's not too tight. It's not going to fall off, hopefully. Give it a little walk around, check it, and the installation on that portion is complete. So before we put these end caps on, we're going to install our accessory, whatever it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install my bike rack real quick, show you how that goes on, and then we will install the end caps. So when installing your accessories, they should have a T-bolt mechanism that will engage the rails of the actual rack. So what we're going to do is go ahead and just take it, put it right up to the rail and kind of slide it in there, locate it, slide that in, and then the rear one moves. So in this one I'll just locate the front to the rail, into the T-bar she goes, into the T-bar, and then just slide it to locate it on the car. For my car, I've already installed this rack, so I got an idea of where my rack will go, centered up on there. I've got some marks. You can do the same if you can continue to pull your rack on and off the car. Just take a marker and draw an edge where your rack goes, so every single time you put it on, it's always in the same spot. And then however your rack fastens down, you just go ahead and do that. For this one, I twist these lock clamps, go back through, twist them all down, and then they will lock And now we'll be able to ready put my bike on top of the car and go have an adventure. So, for example, again, pay no mind to the fact that it's marked as mini. It's actually a Thule Pro XT bike rack. So now we're going to go ahead and put the foot mounts on, or excuse me, the foot mount covers. All right, now it's time to install the cover plates. So you got these fancy cover plates. Okay, all they're held on with is you got a lock, and then you got these two nipple mechanisms, and they just engage into it. So if you look at, you pay attention to the cover plates, they're all going to be marked. You got rear right, okay, and it'll also give you a little arrow indication for where on the car it goes. Same goes for the rear front, excuse me, right front and left rear and left front. So you just pop this in here like that, kind of snugs up against it. You take this key, cheap plastic notched key, put it in there, and you just kind of turn it until it locks. And oh, clear that, it didn't go in. All right, that's secure. And then same thing for the front. There we go. So now that's what it looks like, fully installed with the covers. I'm not a big fan of these covers. They're plastic, kind of cheap. The locking mechanism isn't very high quality. You get this cheap plastic key, which again, I'm not a big fan of. When you open up the box, there is registration information. So if you lose this key or it becomes worn out, you can purchase another key, I guess. I'm not sure about these mechanisms, but I do know to check out, make sure your covers are on securely. There's been some chatter on the forum, somebody lost theirs and they're having a tough time getting a hold of a cap on eBay and everywhere else. That's another reason it points me out that these roof racks are not made by Thule and maybe somebody else like Fisher. And the fact that on the Mini Cooper, on the actual Thule rack, it has a metal key cylinder and the locking mechanism is also metal, so it attaches much more securely. So anyways, that's the video. That's how you install a roof rack on your Integra. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope this was useful. Thanks a lot for watching.